Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Pakhair agale, ni hao, shurashube, washwale, ohio, gozaimis, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning. Alongside the very fabulous, the very talented, the very amazing Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you today?
I am absolutely great, especially after the words you used for me. Thank you so much. How are you? And before you answer that, why are we starting late today?
Oh, well, there's a reason for that, you know, and I don't think that the reason actually needs to be put out there for people to know. But ladies and gentlemen,
We'll find out eventually.
Next 5 minutes, you will definitely find this out too as well.
Okay.
Why are we starting late? But other than that, Shizad, you know, the day we're going to talk about today is, I don't know, you know, I've got a very mixed emotion about that, and it's because of the fact that we're doing it on national television.
Exactly.
And we really need to be so clear with our words that people do not actually cross the line, because there's a very thin line in between this and, being okay, so I'm not giving it away.
You almost gave it away.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely true, Shahzad. I know where this is coming from, because I didn't even know we celebrate this day.
Yeah.
You know, ever since we started planning about, you know, doing a show totally about this specific thing that we're shortly going to reveal, I don't think anyone talks about it. I mean, I didn't even know it exists.
Exactly.
But I think it's time to give it away.
Yeah, and so today, ladies and gentlemen, early in the morning, what happened? So I was just walking out of my office, and, you know, I could see my boss come in, and he was like, "Why aren't you dressed up?" And I was like, "It's Disobedience Day today, so I just wanted to be a little disobedient." And he was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Day, yes.
I was like, "No, I'm not kidding you. Today is Disobedience Day, ladies and gentlemen."
Absolutely.
This is the sole reason why I'm actually very casual today on the show. I wanted to be a little disobedient today, not go or probably cross the line. And which is why I'm wearing a t-shirt. Yeah, so I hope nobody's going to take that against me. What about you?
Absolutely. But Shahzad, you know, you said the very right thing, that you're trying not to cross the line over here.
Yeah.
And that is what we will be trying to talk about or build around today.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about disobedience, yes, it does sound fun. I mean, obviously it is so much fun not listening to someone's orders. But the way Shahzad did it, I mean, it's absolutely safe disobedience. He is wearing ripped jeans and, you know, t-shirt, which we're not allowed to wear on TV, but also in sort of a safer zone. But other than this, are there times when you openly disobeyed probably your parents, probably your family or your
I'm
boss,
sorry, but I'm going to say that. But first, I'm going to answer your question. But first, let me tell people why are we even observing this day.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there was a group of people, you know, they were very tired of doing whatever their bosses actually said, whatever their peers said, whatever their family members said, and they kept on doing that. And we have seen, you know, the way our parents have lived, the way everybody else has lived, I mean, probably 2 decades ago. I think that there was no space to be disobedient or just to deny to what people were actually asking for.
Okay.
In today's time, we definitely give liberty, and which is why, you know, there's this Henry, who's actually an author of the book. He says, he quotes it very well as well, and he says that disobedience is actually the foundation of liberty. Obedient are the slaves.
Don't take that the wrong way.
Yeah, but that was a quote, and I think that we should quote this as well. But
No,
other than that,
absolutely.
you know, coming back to the point where you actually said, if I've done it or not. So, okay, there's this one.
Can I guess, though? Of course you have. Go
Yeah,
on.
of course. But it wasn't that bad. You know,
Okay.
I'm not a disobedient kid at all. I do listen to my parents. I do listen to my family. But then at the same time, there are days when you know, for example, we wake up every day. You know, I have to get up at 7 in the morning. So probably on Saturdays and Sundays, I'm looking forward to sleeping quite a lot.
Okay.
So what happens is that, you know, since my mother is actually a hygiene freak, or probably she's so after cleaning things at places, that she actually wakes me up and she tells me that you actually have to take all the cars out because the Porsche needs to be cleaned and it needs to be washed. And since it's too hot these days, so I'm like, okay, Mom, I'm going to get up, and I'm just going to extend another 2 hours. Finally, when I'll wake up, I'll be like, okay, now I'm going to do that too as well. But what about you?
Well, okay, that is, again, I think that is sort of delayed obedience, though.
Yeah, that
you
delayed.
do listen to her, but in a, you know, disobeying way.
But I don't know whether it's delayed disobedience, because there comes a time after an hour she has to actually keep on saying it again and again. And then eventually there's a slipper in her hand and she's like, the Samitanu, and I was like, okay, I'm getting up. Yeah.
No, but you know, similar case with me, of course. There are times when you really don't feel like doing anything at all. Routines are boring, of course. There is always a need for a break during the routines. You can either have a vacation, you can either just stop going to work for a day or two, just for the sake of it, though.
Exactly.
Of course, you know, not always, I'm so sorry I say that. Usually I do disobey what my mother says, but that is because I have younger siblings to do what she asks me to do. I can always command them, you know, pani la do, ye kar do, wo kar do, so that is taken care
Exactly,
of.
that's great. And then at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that if you're going to lie to your boss and you're going to go out for a fancy lunch, please make sure that you do not land into a restaurant where your boss is already having lunch. So please make sure to look after all of those things. But without any further ado, we are actually going to introduce our disobedient guest as well to everybody who's out there. So on our right-hand side, Shiza, who do we have with us today?
Well, on my right-hand side, we've been joined by someone who's been on the show before. She's an educationist. She is none other than Miss Aisha Saqib. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Absolutely
Well,
great.
absolutely
Walaikum
perfect.
assalam.
Here.
So, Disobedience Day, how are you feeling about it?
Firstly, I am not a disobedient.
Well, it looks like it though, because you're an educationist.
This is something we will
Yeah.
finalize, or we will know whether you are or not.
No, but because you're an educationist and you're
so-
here on a working day.
Or
so-
no, actually, we are
That was a
off.
great
We are
one.
off these days, so it's not being disobedient to my
Okay,
bosses.
perfect, perfect.
Besides this day's concern, I think that in our monotonous life, in our day-to-day life, there comes a time, there comes a point when somebody wants to do something extra or wants
Absolutely.
to let loose of himself.
Yeah.
So I
Right,
think
and that
that
is safe as well. I mean,
It's
it's
sa-
good
it's
to do
good.
for a day or two.
For a day.
Next to Ms. Aisha, we have someone who happens to be the acting chairman of the Department of Psychology in Islamic University. He is a psychologist and a trainer. He is none other than Mr. Dr. Mazhar Iqbal Bhatti. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show, sir.
Walaikum assalam. Welcome
Thank you
to
very much, Bhatti sahab, for joining us. It's wonderful to have you over here. But let me just ask you, how disobedient are you?
On a scale of 1 to
In
10.
my life, I don't think that I was the disobedient student.
Okay.
I was a regular student, but I think in this phenomena, there is a positive thing that is a risk-taking behavior. Once he is going to be sometime disobedient,
Yeah.
that means he is intellectually above average
Okay.
and he want to do something new. So all the time we are expecting 100% from the child. That is impossible.
All right, well, that's great. And it's not just children, ladies and gentlemen, who disobey. It's even adults too as well, and it's animals too. But then at the same time, the other side of the picture is that we humans, we love authority so much
Yeah.
that we try to tame people. We do not give orders, we tame them. And then at the same time, it's not just people, it's animals too as well. But right now, I think that we should actually talk about the likability of being disobedient, and that too, if it's going to come from a teacher. Let's see what ma'am has to say about the likability of being disobedient.
Well, when you enter in the daily routine situation in the classroom, you don't like to be such a student sitting in front of you who are disobedient, and I'm asking them to open the books and they're not
Yeah.
opening. I'm asking them to start writing and they're not writing. So I don't think that disobedient behavior is going to work for them on daily routine.
Okay.
But just for a day or two, because if you see the human psychology as well, people sometimes want to do something that they are asked not to do. If it's written that do not pluck the flowers, I'll definitely go and pluck the flowers.
Yeah.
And this is the behavior of a student as well, that they definitely want to do something which we ask them not to do. So considering their emotions and their behavior, we give them time in the classroom situation as well. Now it's 5 minutes time, you can do whatever you want to do, but not on daily routine. Sometimes
Sometimes,
if
okay.
they have completed their work, we can take them out. So because if I'm going to ask them what do you want to do, they'll definitely say that we are going to have PE throughout the day.
Yeah.
So we cannot
Which is
let
not
them play
possible.
all the day in the ground
Right.
because schools are for a purpose.
Of course.
So I think that I cannot just go with them on their lines because I
But
have
then
to
again,
maintain
you know,
discipline
there are
as well.
few kids who are so cute when you look at them and, you know, you are like, okay, whatever he or she is doing, let them do that.
Let them do
Does
it.
that happen to you a lot?
Exactly. Many times it happens that sometimes, especially in the younger classes, not in the senior ones,
Yeah.
kids come up with such great ideas and such great things that you just let them do. Because in the school where I am teaching, we have a play group as well. So I've often seen students sleeping there during the daytime. So I see that their teachers let them do that
Yeah.
because sometimes things they look good when. The
But should I
students are
tell
doing
you, your profession, your job, it inspires me, of course, but I aspire to be a teacher one day, probably for just summer vacation,
Yeah.
probably for just a year or something, just to try it out. I really do.
It's difficult to teach in summer because the temperature is very hot.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
So
hard
I
to
think
control
that
your own
summer
aggression.
is the time when it's good to have a break.
Okay, that makes sense. But moving on to you, Dr. Bhatti, you know, there are, like we already discussed, there are definitely some children who need to have a day or two off in terms of, you know, following a routine. But then there are some children who are rebellious at nature. Disobedient at nature. There are definitely so many factors behind that. Let's explore those factors.
Yes, there's a lot of factors, psychological factor. For example, most of the students are curious. Most of the students are moody, most of the students are their own pattern of life.
Yeah.
We should explore the pattern of life of the child, and accordingly teachers should behave with the students, parents should behave with the kids. I think this would be the most probably very common
viable
in our
solution. Okay.
viable situation in our society. We are living in a collective society. And that collective society and joint family system has a lot of positive aspects,
Exactly.
but there is few negative aspects.
And we definitely would
we
love to
are
highlight.
discussing the positive side.
Yeah, we will definitely highlight the negative aspects too as well. But ladies and gentlemen, right now we actually have to go out for a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys will come back, and today my producer never wanted me to go for a break, but I'm going out for a
being
break.
disobedient.
Yeah, because we're being disobedient. It's a dream team, ladies and gentlemen. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And yeah, please, you do not have to be disobedient. You have to stay on the screen. Okay, we're coming back. Good morning.
Stay tuned. Good morning. Welcome back to World This Morning with Shahzad Khan and Shiza Hashmi, ladies and gentlemen. Today, when we are being disobedient, well, not literally, this was in a lighter note, but we're just learning about it. So today happens to be Disobedience Day.
Yes.
And we are exploring the healthy way of observing disobedience.
Exactly. But then at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, other than being disobedient, I think that it is very imperative, it is very important in nature that for us to actually remember all of those people who've made Pakistan proud, who've actually made sure that they're actually going to raise our flag and they're going to make us proud in other regions of the world as well. And talking about such names, ladies and gentlemen, today happens to be the 3rd of July as well, which happens to be the death anniversary of Alam Lohar Sahab as well. He was a great musician.
Absolutely.
And for people, you know, younger generations who might not know about him, he was the father of Mr. Harif Lohar. And we've got a rich tribute to pay to him as well, ladies and gentlemen. So in his remembrance, we're going to listen to one of his Ladies and gentlemen, that was Alam Lohar for you on your TV screens as well. And talking about Sufi musicians, ladies and gentlemen, there's a long list over here in Pakistan, starting from Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan Sahab as well, then Miss Abda Parveen, and now the newer generation has taken over that too as well. And we keep on promoting those talented individuals. But now, coming back to being disobedient. So, you know, they say that there are 6 different types of being disobedient. Do you want to build up on that? Or do you want me to go ahead
I'll
with
let
that?
you.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so you want me to do that?
I'll let you.
Okay, so first of all, ladies and gentlemen, there are people who just say no. I mean, for example, if somebody is going to say, Shiza, you know, you went to Amsterdam, did you get us chocolate? She said no. You know, so this is one thing, you know, people, and you can relate to that as well, whether you are this kind of a disobedient or not. And then there are people who are partially disobedient, who are like, okay, some things they will do, some things they won't. Then there are people who happens to be, you know, delayed, disobedient. Yeah, you know, that's what it is. For example, if I were to say something, you know, and after 30 minutes or 40 minutes of that, you know, that particular person is going to do something.
Okay.
And then there are people who actually are disobedient, but they want other people to do the job they've been asked to do.
Okay.
So, for example, how Shiza said that, you know, since she's got younger sisters as well, so she's probably going to say to them or call out for them to do as well that, you know, okay, probably I'm not doing this, but you can. But what are the other types?
Well, the one that I can remember of right now is obedience with anger. I think I also fall in that category, though. I mean, I would definitely listen to the orders that I've received from probably, of course, my mom, dad, and probably my teacher as well, but be super angry while performing those things because of, like, I think a lot of people can relate to this, like assignment deadlines.
Yeah,
a lot of people absolutely hate doing those, right? I think you guys can agree as well. And there are times when people would just last minute finish their assignments and with a lot of aggression and frustration just submit it. Like, I'm done with it. Don't even want to reread that.
Yeah.
So I think
and you know, thank you very much for saying that there are people who are angry and then obedient to you at the same time. And I think that I can only think of one person in this situation, and that is my daughter. She's just 5 years old, and she'll be 6, inshallah, this year as well. But so if she does not feel like doing anything and you repetitively are going to say to her, oh, please do this, oh, please do this. So once she'll actually throw whatever's in her hand, she's like, oh, I don't like it. And you know, but she's still going to do it. So, and
at least she's obedient.
She is obedient, but then at the same time, you're very angry. For example, if I'm going to tell her to, you know, get me a glass of water, she's probably going to get me a glass of water, but it's going to be half full. You know, it's not going to be full. So, you know, these are the things which do occur. But then at the same time, the research says that people who actually apply to or changes to their routine, they are said to be more effective and efficient for a fewer periods or time or for a few times. But then, Bhatti Saab, do you agree to this? Do you think that the routines need to be changed a little bit so that you can actually improve your efficiency? And is it really correct?
Yes, it's really correct, because every child is different psychology, and they have their different personalities, and they have different their personality factors. Mostly we are expecting from the kids they are obeying all the time.
Yeah.
But sometime if they are not obeying or delaying, might be they are curious, might be they are moody, might be they are angry, which you are already mentioning. So let them give the space. Parents and teachers should give them space, because all the time we are focusing, stressing, that create negative impact on the personality of the child.
All right. So then you're trying to say over here that we should actually give more space to our kids so that they can think out of the box. And I think that it is very important, ladies and gentlemen. And how many times I've gone through this myself, that I've actually written lyrics for a song. You know, I'm going to go share it with somebody, and then people will be like, oh, you know, you don't need to put this word into it. You do not need to do this and whatnot. I think in the first place, people should actually know what they want from their lives. And it is very important.
Doesn't that like put you off? I mean, if you've worked, if you've put so much effort into something, and then someone would be, you know, just letting you down about it, you really don't want to do it anymore, right?
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that.
It kills your personality as well, right?
Yeah, I think that you once again have hit the nail on the head too as well. Ladies and gentlemen, whenever, you know, this personality development is a very different thing. Absolutely. And not everybody can understand that. You first of all need to realize who you actually are. And once you do realize that, I don't think that anybody can actually poke their nose into your business. So first of all, know yourself. It is important. But which is why I'm going to move on to ma'am over here. So how many times do you give space to the kids within the class that, okay, whatever you guys want to do, let's talk about it, let's do that? Because I've seen within our own schooling systems, we're not provided with that much space to think out of the box.
Exactly. So, you know, working in the same circle or following the same track throughout the day and making the children sit on the same chair throughout the day, it becomes very, you know, frustrating for them, because you cannot make someone sit on the same chair for the whole day. Just think yourself on in their shoe. So I think that the positive learning environment can only be created if you are giving them space, and if you are letting them loose to do what they want to do. But we definitely
in a controlled manner.
In a controlled manner, because rules are there for stability and making the life in a balanced way and an equilibrium. So if you are not allowing them to what they want to experience, definitely you are hampering their creativity and imagination as well. So there is a thin line between the two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Being the obedient one and being the disobedient one. So, and you know, as you have said that your daughter, sometimes she is not following your instructions, because I think that the first word a child learns is no. Because we tell them every time that don't do it, don't do it, so no. So I think it's in human behavior as well, that there comes a point when you want to explore more. And
but you know, kids are so sweet though. They're so innocent. They can be disobedient without being, I mean, you can't be angry at them. So my niece, right? My sister's daughter. So she has a way of saying no to things. Whenever, you know, my sister asks her to do chores or little things that she can help with, she'd be like, but Amal is tired, Mama. She won't do it. She will never do it.
And they also tell you that I have done this work, now I'm not going to do this one, because I've already done enough for you.
No, but you know, okay, so this is a question, of course, teachers, I want an answer on behalf of the teachers, but I think first on a psychological note though, our parents who are super strict, who are super conservative and do not let their children do anything
Hers,
at all.
not mine.
I'm saying parents in general. No, parents in general though. Do you think their kids, of course they do learn to be in a proper manner and whatnot, but later on they are the ones who prove out to be more disobedient? I read this. Is it true though? Let's start with you, Dr. Bhatti.
In my experience, in clinical experience, I saw a lot of kids from belonging to those families which are more religious, which are more strict. Their children are facing a lot of psychological problems because the child is in the early developmental phases. He's learning daily new things, and the generation gap is also a factor because parents are belonging to other era and child is belonging to this electronic era. So we forget most of the time that there is a gap, and that gap should create sometime problem for the parent as well as for the children.
Right.
So how do we resolve this gap then?
Yeah, that's
This
good.
gap issue.
That is positive aspects. Basically, child is getting role model, parents, a teacher, or any other role model in his life. We elders should behave in a tolerant way, in a good manner, in a respectable way.
Right.
When your family environment is like that, then definitely child is going to be learn that behavior, positive behaviors.
Yeah.
I think these things are going to be give the positive aspect of the disobedience.
And positive aspect of the disobedience.
I like
you know,
it,
I like this sentence too as well. But ladies and gentlemen, very shortly we actually started our newer segment as well, which is picture of the day, and whatever thought comes to our head, we're going to talk about it. And I think that it is a great way to cleanse your inner self too as well, because there's so many things within you which you can relate with the picture. So we're going to even ask
be creative about it.
Yeah, so first we're going to ask our guests what they have to say about the picture, and then it'll be me and Shiza talking about the picture too as well. So let's see, what do we have today? Mr. Producer, can we have it on the screen? Wow. Okay, so it's a squirrel looking for food, which I think is levitated on water or probably floating. So what do you have to say? Sir, we'll start with you. What do you have to say about this picture?
It can be funny, it can be deep, it can be whatever you want it to be.
It's a funny, and now you see she is going to follow the objective, and objective is to get the food.
Yeah.
So everybody should try, but in a positive way.
Okay.
Not in a shortcut, not in a negative side, not in a hurry, not in a forgiving thing as for granted.
Yes.
Yeah,
wow,
but also look at the symmetry of the picture though. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. This was last month. I came across a photo of a flying eagle almost landing on water, and a photographer, you know, managed to get the exact right picture in that moment. This was similar to that symmetry of it. I mean, the image on the water and everything, if you even turn it upside down, it's going to be the same picture. But this is also, I'm sorry to say this, but credit's due where it's due. This is the inside of one of my producers too. He's
wow,
very
that's
smart.
great. And let's see what Miss Aisha has to say about this picture.
This picture is actually showing that how much this animal is focused on its goal. Like he has also explained the same thing.
Yeah.
And like the Shiza has said, that it's in a symmetrical manner as well. Definitely the thing that, you know, when you see the picture, the
catches your
first
eye,
thing that is there is the symmetry of the picture. And the photographer must have spent many days there to get that right image.
Or maybe he was just lucky.
Or maybe he was just lucky,
just
and this animal is also lucky because there is no one else to get the same food.
Exactly. And
so
then
it's not going to have any competition there.
yeah, I think I've got a very different mindset with this picture, ladies and gentlemen. Can we share the picture? Let me tell people. I think that this picture gives us a message for life.
Okay.
So if you look at the squirrel, so the hind legs are actually onto the rock. The front ones are in the water, and she's actually approaching towards food. So ladies and gentlemen, it is very well said, and I've said it so many times in life, that you should always, you know, measure the depth of the water with only one leg. And that's exactly what the squirrel is doing. Squirrel does not actually want to go deep into the water and risk his or her life for just food. So how many times we do come across these situations in life where we know that this is something which is going to be very fruitful without knowing how dangerous it can get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Philosopher,
thank you very much.
exactly.
Oh, I can see claps. I can hear
drop your
claps.
mic and walk away.
Yeah, but I think that, you know, this was my take, and it was great too as well.
Absolutely.
But in terms of, you know, getting food, we as humans, you know, we have to go to our offices, we have jobs, and we have our
bread.
businesses.
Yeah.
Then we have client diaries, then we have people who are coming in every day. And then there are days when we do not actually feel like greeting anybody. We want to be by ourselves. We want to be a little disobedient. How do you think that we can go by that? Do you think that it is fine to do that if somebody's out there on the door knocking and you're not just opening up because you do not feel like? Do you think that's fine? Do you do that?
No, I never did this. That if somebody's standing on my door and I'm not going to open because I don't feel like meeting him.
Oh, that's
I think
amazing.
the disobedience aspect should be in an intelligent way. It should be an intelligent disobedience, that one should know when to say no and one should know when to say yes. And definitely, if you're going to follow all instructions by your heart, people are going to throw more things on you. They know that you are a good one for this job and they'll keep on burdening you. So I think that one should know how to say that I'm not able to do this job and I have already done enough. But I think that when you're working in an office situation, you are not.
No, but Aisha, also, it's totally okay to do so. I mean, I feel like when you are given an order or something, you should definitely be curious about it, be questioning about it, the do's and don'ts of it. Maybe you'll get the answer to your queries, or maybe you won't, and then you can better decide if you really want to do it or not.
Which is why I'm going to give you a real-time example before I move on to Bhatti Sahib. The real-time example is that you've got 300 copies to check. You know, the students just went through their examination. You've got those exams to be checked. The principal calls you, give you another assignment. How do you think you'll actually, you know, go around the corner to avoid that particular assignment? How would you do it?
Then
what would you say?
I think that one has to be very, you know, clear about the priority of the life, that if 300 copies are more important for me to do first because students are waiting for those notebooks, so I'll definitely go by that thing first. And I think that a positive working environment can only be created if there is a good connection between the boss and the employee.
Yeah.
So definitely if he or she knows that I am already working on some assignment, we are many students and many teachers working in the same environment. So maybe this responsibility can be given to someone else.
Well, that's great. Which is why, Bhatti Sahib, the situation which I'm going to give to you is that, you know, since you are the acting chairman of your relative department, you know, there can be delays from your end. You know, but there are days when you do not feel like doing things, you know, particularly. So what would you do? Would you actually think about all of those other people waiting for their files to be signed, or would you think about your own self and giving yourself a day or 2 hours or 3 hours?
No, I never did this.
We're not saying whether you did this or not, but today...
Yeah, there's the situation and how you smartly handle that situation. It depends on you and your students.
But Pakistanis are very smart. They always get away with words.
They always have an antidote first for anything.
We can say that, but we can't claim that because every individual is having different traits in his personality and ways of handling to the situation. So human being try to solve the problem at most, which is given by the boss or the relative or the friends, or even by the, as you mentioned, from the student sides. But we will have to manage the situation because after all, we are human beings. We need rest, we need relaxation, we need to luxurious time, but you will have to complete your assignment. And students are following, as I mentioned earlier, the role model as a teacher, as a parent. So we should behave maturely and responsibly.
Well, that's great. You know, this is what we are tired of. This is why we're having the entire discussion, because, you know, we're tired of acting maturely every single day.
That's true, that's true. But, you know, Shahzad, I think you're absolutely right when you said, sir, that there is a limit to our functioning as well, since we're humans, we're not robots, right?
But it should not be done at the cost of responsibility. Now, if you are given certain responsibility to follow it up and you are not doing it because you just want to be disobedient for that particular day.
You know, but there are some times when you can physically not do it. This was last month. There were elections in Indonesia happening, and the workers over there, more than 200 of them, imagine, died because of exhaustion. For 2 straight days, for so many hours straight, they were working, counting votes, doing their own job because they were supposed to. This was obedience. But they lost their life. It's so unhealthy. So I think you have to place yourself first.
Exactly. And then at the same time, you know, since you mentioned about Indonesia, I think it was Switzerland where they've actually made sure that nobody's actually going to call any other employee after 4 o'clock. You know, so you cannot, you cannot call your employee, and you cannot retain your employee after 4 o'clock too as well.
In France as well, it's a law that has been passed that nobody is going to call the employees after work.
Not even emails. Not even emails. So I think that this is something great, and the government actually decided for the employees to be a little disobedient. Well, this is not disobedience, but then at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, that there is a very thin line in between, and you know, we do not want this thing to be very detrimental for you in the longer run or dangerous for you in the shorter run as well. So please make sure that if you want to be disobedient, the only disobedience we're referring to is going to the office an hour late, or probably doing something which you haven't done for a longer period of time. A little bit of change in your routine. For example, if you're dieting, if you're a fitness freak, all you have to do is have a lot of chocolate ice cream, you know, so this can be disobedience free. Yeah, we're not telling you to go rob people, okay? So this is something, this is a disclaimer for all those people who are out there. We're not promoting disobedience. It's just that we actually need to think like humans. We need to sit back, relax, and it's not really necessary that we panic about each and everything.
No, thank you so much for saying that, Shahzad, because there are definitely some segments that exist in our country and in every part of the world who would resort to civil disobedience in a way that disrupts the normal functioning of the society, of the nation itself, of the whole country. So don't be one of them. Just like Shahzad already mentioned, just make a small change in your routine.
Which is why we are going to just take a few last messages from our guests as well, and then we're going to wrap it up. But Isa, what do you have to say on this day especially?
I think this is a very positive side of the personality of the child. We should understand the personality of the child, the abilities, capabilities, intellectualities, and the smart handling of the whole situation. Basically, we didn't focus on the psyche of the child, and we are expecting more from the child all the time, 100%. We should give them space. We should give them the luxurious time. We should understand that they are curious. We should understand they are moody. We should understand sometimes they are angry. We should understand they are more active than elders, because child is a father of man.
Okay, child is the father of man. Wow, that's great. Which is why I'm going to ask you for one simple favor.
Okay.
You have to promise me first, both of you. Promise?
Yes.
Promise?
Yes.
Promise?
Yes.
Okay, you do not have to think about it. So what you have to do is, once you go back to your school and to your university, you just have to make one simple video with your students saying Happy Disobedience Day. Okay, all of them. And then tomorrow we are going to play that video in our show, and we'll let people know that it can be fun and kids can enjoy. And then later on, we're going to have you over here on the show as well, and we'll actually ask you how was that particular day when you actually gave your students that space. And I think that is going to turn out to be great. Will you do that?
Yes.
We will be waiting for that video today. We have to play it tomorrow.
We'll try to, definitely.
Well, that's great. Not try. You promised me earlier as well. But what will be your message today?
We are making a promise with you.
Done.
Inshallah.
On national television.
Inshallah.
It's done.
Inshallah.
What about you? What will be your message today?
My message would be that for just one day, being disobedient is not a bad idea. But I think the rules should be more flexible. They should be made in a way that they are not going to hamper someone's creativity, right?
Okay.
So if the rules are already very strict, then I think that being disobedient for one day is not a bad idea.
Or once
in a lifetime, not in a lifetime, because
once a time.
Once in a because I think it's nothing bad in it to let yourself loose and do whatever you do. Follow your heart and what's coming in your mind. Just do that for one day.
Well, that's great. And you cannot be disobedient with the promise you've made with us. Okay, so you have to make the video. I know that schools are not actually open these days as well, so probably go home with your kids. Tell them be disobedient today.
They're not going to listen to me for the entire day. That's going to be just one segment.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts on this special day. I don't know if it's special or not, but it was definitely insightful for us both. Thank you so much, Dr. Bhatti, Aisha Saqib. Well, towards the end, there's just one confession probably I'm going to make about disobedience. So there are days, of course, when we both feel like going off the routine because it's a morning show, we have to wake up early morning, whatnot. So I think my limit of disobedience would be coming super late to the show. But be there when it starts, but arriving super late.
Okay, well, that's great. But then towards the end, ladies and gentlemen, I know we have talked quite a lot about disobedience, but now I would love to talk about being obedient. There are quite a lot of perks, and in Urdu we say ba adab ba naseeb, which actually means that people who actually listen to their elders are going to be blessed within this world and the world hereafter as well. Please make sure to be obedient on a regular basis, and if you feel like being disobedient, just talk it out, okay? And today is the day. So do write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well This Morning.
On Twitter.
Well This Morning without a G.
On Dailymotion and YouTube.
Well This Morning.
This fabulous recipe is going to be at
5 past 11 p.m.
tonight. Till the next time, 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Take care.